Welcome back, fellow armchair generals. This is Gamer 1745 here with my continuing playthrough of Hearts of Iron 3 with Black Ice 9.11. And even though we're looking at Africa, we're really playing Japan, the Japanese Empire. Let's take a quick look and see how the European axis is doing. Well, Italy isn't doing well. There was an event here that popped up a bunch of garrison units ready to sort of hold the Italian peninsula here, and of course the German AI has sent them everywhere else and not to confront the Americans, though they have turned over a few German units, including Rommel there, to fight the Americans, and so they're going to lose eventually as this all starts streaming forward, including the South African units there. So Italy is on a dying trend right now. Germany has pushed into the Ukraine a little, or into Crimea a little bit, and deeper into Ukraine, but has been pushed further and further away from Archangel. And yeah, waiting for the scripted invasions in 44 to happen to really put the doom to Germany, but that's coming. We are trying with our Axis allies of Iraq and Saudi Arabia to distract them somewhat, while still keeping the Soviets out, because I think they'll come in and crush me. I can't handle both the British and the Soviets at the same time here, but yeah, that will work. And a little quick note, we are playing this live. Hello, Carl Lindoff. Yes, we are moving here with this guy, thanks to deal with the garrison unit to keep from, I guess we're technically cut off now because those are low infrastructure, but we're moving to deal with and get reback. That is very smart. Thank you. We're playing live on this on YouTube, and I'm going to let this go up after it processes to be watched, the full live stream all at once. But I have gotten a lot of feedback from players, and I'm going to try to keep this somewhat short here, that they like to watch the episodes in smaller bites. So if you want to sort of jump ahead of the nearly daily releases or mostly daily releases, you can do so and watch the full stream on YouTube. But if you want to get it in sort of manageable chunks, you can watch the daily releases. The YouTube version does have some extras in that it is, we're going to retreat from there. We're going to send these guys up, the Marines up to do that. I wanted to do that before it shattered. Okay, you guys get to support this attack. Actually, I think it would be better if you came around here. You guys could come to here and here. Don't know if timing-wise that's good, but you can support that attack on the light armor. Okay, good. Looks like we'll do well. Okay, good, we're there. Yay. Okay, Tippett, thanks very much. Great playing with you. Yeah, spotting more and more convoys that are well escorted in the Mediterranean as the U.S. sends in supplies to their holdings. And a general note, and I am working a little more seriously, don't want to overstate it, but because I have sort of looked at before, but trying to get TRE to work with the new Black Ice 10. Okay, you're also, I don't want to shatter you. Once I sort of get that done and we get the submods done, I do want to make a multiplayer game. series with black ice. You just march. Okay, I guess you can keep coming there. Oh, you're not going to last too long, but let's hope for a little while. Okay, well, looks like we've... Maybe I should... Ooh, 6. Okay, let's see, do we have some fighters that are well worked? No, those aren't. Well, let's look at Fighter Command. That's why I have Fighter Command. Where's Fighter Command? It's here somewhere. Fighter Command. Okay. No order. Where are you? You're down here. Okay. You come down here. You're going to fly fighter cover for. Okay, they're probably on too small of an airbase. You come to a bigger airbase to get repaired. Otherwise, I would send you off right now. Where are you? Okay, you're way behind the lines. Okay, come down here. Yeah, there's no air bases up north there. That will help deal with Australia's air. Okay, now push. Well, maybe not you. You push and you push. Yes, no, that's a very good idea. That's sort of my normal strategy. We haven't taken the Maldives here yet. We have taken Socotra and the Seychelles. This flipped. It was originally Vichy. It's flipped to Free French, and we need to take that eventually. And of course here. It's just sort of a combination of transports, which we're getting more of and probably should do that, transports and available units, but it is a very good idea to do so. So we're part way there, and it's a good plan. Just right now, I think I would rather either send fresh units to us, although we could probably maybe, I don't know if we could do it so with some of those police units, fresh units to either Australia or to Saudi Arabia right now, I think would be the preferred. Oh, wait a minute, you're already there. Okay. Yeah, no, that isn't a bad idea because we can swing out there if we can hold. These guys look like they're gonna hold. Yeah, you can fall back. I'd rather have you fall back than shatter. So I say that because they're just sort of exhausting themselves attacking into me. Yeah, the tank core shattered out here. Okay, you guys start moving north to deal with that. I was hoping we would win here and actually attack. You fall back. Attack in with my armor there. Okay, guys, you come up to here. I think Saudi Arabia is waiting to get all of its troops withdrawn, which includes British troops, it looks like, into its territory, and maybe waiting for the British to leave its territory before it jumps into the war. And ground attack tactics have advanced. Very good. Yeah. I think we're going to come up here to industry and continue our increased productivity capabilities. Okay. Yeah. You go here. You go here. And once we sort of clean up this area, to some degree at least, then we'll see about moving all of these forces here. Okay, what are we? Okay, stop the attack. That is maybe a case where we can... Let's see if we can send some bombers over. India's biggest problem is I don't have enough bases for them. The bombers, that is. So let's... I think that's India's biggest defense. No, you can't use air power here. We have no air bases. Yeah, you're counterattacking, which isn't a good idea at the moment because I wasn't exhausted when you... Okay, you base out of here, I think now. We're rebasing you. We can also see that the British are cleaning up the Germans that are trapped up here. I originally really thought I was going to lose to the American Navy and have them sink my fleets and then start invading, island hopping, invading me, but it really... Well, it takes a while. It's not too long. It just... If I were to start now, where do I put them? And by the time they're ready, where do I think I'll be? I thought I was going to clean this area up sooner, but it's been a little harder. Partially because we had a lot of troops distracted up here, and still sort of are. So I thought it was going to happen sooner. It would have been a good idea, but even then, it's still just building one level at a time. So it takes, you know, so if you're going to have a level 3 or level 4 airbase, it takes a long time to do that. Nation, oh, that's here. Okay, 44. Yeah, I think we're going to go over to production. Keep reducing our production cost. Now let's do this. Get that going. Not right now. I don't think we need to do that. And we're moving over against this military police unit there that's fighting us super hard. Will you support that now? There we go. And they're sort of, they're doing well. Okay. Okay, looks like we've done well there. These guys, I guess to the center here. Ah, they're sort of backing off from here. Well, you guys get across the river before we push out. The river is a good defense either for us or for them. I don't know if autumn mud is affecting us in any of our regions, but yeah, okay. An armor piercing cap, ballistic cap advance, that would be here, I think, yes. And we're actually going to let this go. Keep our anti-tank up to date to dealing with European armor, or Western armor, or whatever you want to call it. Do we have any decisions I want to take? No, thank you. And nothing really I'm ready to deal with. Okay, we must have dropped off somebody. Let's head them back up to here. Good, we're taking out all Australia's. Why didn't I do assault rifle technology? Well, I'm researching it now. And, let's see how far advanced are we along on that. Those are assault guns. Thought we were fairly advanced on that. Maybe not. Oh, there we are. So we're about not quite half the way done. We should be done in October, I guess. 43, so yeah, we're moving through on assault rifles. So we're getting there. Okay. You're going after here, fine. And navigation radar. I think that's this. Yes, stop that. And yes, removing more of our production. Reduces the cost of artillery. Okay, we're now doing reasonably well, advancing into there. Good. Ah, good. Bunch of units have showed up here. Yeah, push into there. Oh, do we have a unit that we could attach those to? Actually, they go into there, so yeah, let's give these guys some heavy anti-tank units. Anti-tank guns. Not that we're facing much heavy anti-tank at all, or any heavy tanks. Mostly looks like light armor, but still. Okay, you support that attack just to make it a little more effective, attacking from 2 provinces. And partisan suppression. Yeah, we're going to let that go. We want to keep the partisans down. And we've won there while we're still battling off the Eritreans or whatever. Regain our supplies. And we'll attack back. Down the coast more this time. Oh, and we want to get rid of you guys so you're not eating supplies down here. I guess come back up to here. And you guys maybe just come over to here. Okay, so we're here now. You push into there. Well, yeah, no, the assault rifle tech is good. And Germans historically started it very early. They were actually building the cartridge for the assault rifle before the start of World War II. They actually started with the cartridge and then designed a gun for it. But as you can see, it really bumps up soft attack, heavy, and also defensiveness. So it is a good tech. It's somewhere between my desire to play sort of historically based things and just choices. Waited till sometime in 43 to start, efficiency and not pushing early on it. Is why I, didn't push early on it. Mainly, I guess. Okay, we have, yes, good. I thought, yes, we moved these guys here. I want to move any of the other ones. They could hold the, well, no. I think they're using to hold the port down here. These guys, send in the cavalry, literally, to help with down here. Oh, good. We're pushing down further. Right. Now that we've got that, let's push in here. And they're in good shape, so we're hitting them from 2 provinces. Yeah, we're losing a few. Okay, what do any of the, okay, they have infrastructure. They do too, so they're gonna occupy that one. So you occupy this one over here, guys. Sort of trying to occupy Northern Australia. Well, that's right, we moved fighters to deal with some of those ground attacks down here. So let's get up, air intercept that region, so go after any enemy fighters. And hopefully they'll take out the our bombers or whatever. Okay, yes, keep moving forward, keep moving forward. That heavy armor infantry tanks will be useful. We gotta remember about the India front still. I think it is important. Okay, and you're across the river now, so you can support that attack effectively. It's one of the few air bases up there that the British control it. Yeah. Good, that's getting us the wind there. Yeah, they're just too exhausted. These guys will help out though. I want to get that oil for myself. Oh, what tech just happened? Okay, proximity fuses. I believe that's an artillery tech, is it not? I'm not yet seeing it here, probably just because I'm blind to it. Oh, here, right in the center. Yeah, I think we'll leave that at that and move it. I know it's still 44, but we're trying to reduce our cost of manufacturing. Good. Okay, good. We got that air base, so we can keep moving now. Move this group up. That will displace their air, but we could still maybe send in some fighters to help cover things. They still have an air base over here, I know. Got all that stuff. 20 units stuck on an 8 level base. Okay, guys, you attack there with your support. Okay, we've got Kingaroy. Okay, and we're across the river here. So now we are going to attack across this river here with these guys supporting the attack. And these guys that are in reasonably good shape, and they also have engineers attached. Oh, we now have a veteran air force, so that's good. We fought enough air battles to qualify for a veteran air force. You support the attack. Now they get a little better organized. You guys are all here. Okay, yeah. Looking for the healthy divisions, at least kick off the... Yeah, we're not strong enough to deal with your navy. Okay, all of Sicily's gone, and they're moving deeper into Italy. Well, this is now an unsupplied pocket here. Yeah, it ain't gonna last long. And yeah, Nick, you're probably watching. We didn't get there soon enough. I don't know if we could have gotten there soon enough with enough that would have kept it going. We might have. I'm not saying we couldn't. I just don't know. Ah, yes. The oxen. IKB is bringing up the idea that they used oxen, at least at one aircraft factory, to move the aircraft from the factory to the local airstrip, because they built the factory they built the factory in a location that there was no land space immediately for the airstrip, and because the road was so bumpy, they used oxen to tow the aircraft, because if they used trucks to tow it, or if they used horses to tow it, it would you know, vibrate, bang up, whatever you want to say, the delicate Zero fighters or whatever it was that they were moving. But if they moved them on the slower, you know, towed them with the slower oxen, it was slow enough to get them to the airbase safely on the road. Now, of course, I can definitely see the possibility of having a facility and wanting to build your production there for aircraft. But knowing that you're producing aircraft, I would think you would want an airstrip next to it, almost no matter what. Because what if you decide to build a big aircraft? How big is your width of your road? And if you have that big width of the road, why not just turn that road into the airstrip? And even if you just use it occasionally, you know, to fly an aircraft off, but the Americans would be flying them off every like 30 minutes, every 30 seconds or whatever it was, out of an aircraft factory. So yeah, that is part of the problem of why Japan could not have won or done any sort of man in the high castle type scenarios in which they would be able to in any way threaten the US in any substantial manner. Yeah, they could sink our ships. Yeah, they can take a few island possessions, including Hawaii. They could have pushed and gotten Hawaii. That would have been very doable. But no, defeat us, no possible way. No worldly possible way, given the conditions that existed at the time just on the production front. They're moving in reinforcements into the battle, and so are we and our allies. Yeah, you start pushing down along the exposed a bit more. You can support the attack. There, they need it most. Well, the one, okay, there was a couple of underground factories that the Germans had. One of them, we can jump over here, one of them was in Berlin, and it was the subway that they were building to the big air base, the big airport there that's still there. It's big airport. It's not used. It's a big ruin. In East Germany, or what was East Germany, or Eastern Berlin. And I forget. I'm blanking on it right now. But that big, huge, really nice for the time period airport. And it was an assembly plant, and it was just like, I don't know, 6 or 12 inches wide on each side of the tunnel, naturally, to move like a ME 109 or something down it as they assembled it. And so that went right out onto onto the airbase. So it Tempelhof, that's it, you've got that, thanks. Tempelhof, the big airbase in Berlin, thanks IKB. And so they did that one. That was an underground, and it was just like, as you say, an assembly plant. It didn't manufacture parts, it just assembled them and to go. Now they were also building, I don't know quite honestly if they ever got it operational, but they were building another base. Oh, I think they did maybe get it operational or something briefly. Another aircraft production for the Me-262, the jet, and that was under a mountain. And you're right that there's very little connection around it. But what it did have, they had built an airfield, or not a whole air base, but just a landing strip or whatever on top of the mountain. It was relatively flat enough for in one direction to be able to basically take off and fly away with the 262. It was not set up to be like an operational air base. That's why I'm trying to not use that word for it. And it was, sort of just a runway of some sort up there that they could, after it was designed for that, after the finish of production, they would haul the aircraft up an elevator type thing to the surface and then just take it off because they knew they needed to disperse the operating airstrips around Germany. And so that it was sort of lost in the wilderness. You're right, that one that I know of. And there was definitely a railway or roadway to bring in parts, and there was also I think significant manufacture of parts under there too that they were building. I don't know exactly how far they got on that, but those are the two specifically that I know of underground aircraft production. There may have been more. I don't know. Those are the two that I've heard of. The one in Berlin and the one under some mountain somewhere, I think at the time at least, eastern half of Germany. I don't remember where. But yeah, they were doing that. Japan was building some stuff that was underground as well in the latter days. Again, mostly assembly stuff that was in caves that were doing stuff. Japan was really getting ready for a, fight to the last man defense of the home islands. And it would have been even more ruinous for Japan and for the Allies to fight in there. I really truly believe the dropping of the atomic bombs on Japan I know it saved American lives. I mean, that's indisputable. And it's, of course, the American government's job to save American lives. And also, of course, saved any Allied lives that would have, you know, been involved in any sort of fighting as well. Just support any attack across there. And I do think it actually saved Japanese lives, that more would have been lost fighting it out on Japanese soil than was lost in the bombing of, I think all the bombing, quite honestly. I mean, there was a lot of bombing going on. It wasn't just the 2 atomic bombs. They specifically dropped the 2 atomic bombs on cities that hadn't been previously bombed, just to show the devastating effects of the bombs. Now, it was sort of a mean bit of fate, we'll call it, is that some Japanese had moved to Hiroshima and Nagasaki because they hadn't been bombed, thinking for some reason the Allies didn't think it was a good idea to bomb it. Yeah, I understand that. I, quite honestly, and if you've, and I'm sure I can tell from your comments, you haven't been watching this series for a long time. I specifically, when I started the Hearts of Iron 4 Pacific series that I meant to be sort of as a prequel to this one, I've read up on the Pacific War. Biography of Nimitz, a book called Japanese Destroyer Captain, written by a Japanese destroyer captain, and several other books on the Pacific War, so that I was better informed to be able to talk about it while playing it. So I'm not a natural or I'm not a great expert on it now, not like I am on Germany. And I don't know if I'm an expert on Germany, but I definitely know it a lot better than I know much else about the war. Okay, port strike tactics. Though I did make a really good kick-ass mod on Germany, so I'm pretty familiar with it, all things considered. Yeah, U-boats. Not that we're building many submarines right now, but I learned a lot about Germany building the mod. And I'm still studying it more on it. Okay, we're here. We've got a lot of stuff here. For some reason, this is not being well supplied, even though I have supplies going right to it. Some of the ships I probably sent over this way. I should have sent that way. So where are you? Okay, you guys. No, you had a brief run-in with somebody, I can see. Come this. That's going to be slow. Come this way. Because if I can get these guys on board ship and get them somewhere to the front, maybe not so much the garrison unit, but everything else. Oh, you strategically redeploy, get there fast. Yeah, we're winning against the Australians. Like I say, they are fighting hard. Just huge amount more manpower than was realistic for Australia at the time. No I-400s. Don't know if there is a equivalent. That Japan, before the war starts, has a bunch. I don't know, somewhere between 10 and 20. I'm not quite sure of the numbers. And they're normally in production batches and model batches or something of 3 or 4. So I don't know how many aircraft carrying submarines that they have. Now, those all just carry one aircraft. Of course, the famous Surcouf of France has a very early aircraft on it that they keep using it. The Americans have at least one submarine that has an aircraft on it before the war, though it's scrapped long before the war starts, if I'm not mistaken. But Japan really had a bunch that they were intended to use as scouting aircraft for the fleet. You know, go way out in front of the fleet's areas and look for the American fleet using its aircraft and report back in. Well outside of even what becomes radar ranges was their intention of them. But the I-400s, as well, it's only 3 aircraft, so it's hardly a real carrier. But I don't know if any of these would simulate an I-400. The U.S. did have 4 big super subs, or at least super-sized subs that were all built. Had 3 of them. I mean, did I say 4? Had 3. The Narwhal class includes the Nautilus, the Narwhal, and I forget the third. And they were really big. They were almost as big as the Surcouf and the I-400s, but not quite in their displacement. But they were big, and they were meant for the Pacific War. They didn't have any aircraft on them, but they were meant to be able to operate, I believe, from the American coast and operate way deep into the Pacific from the American coast. And if not also from Japan and deep. And those are the 3 that they used for a lot of the Marine Corps raider operations, that they would take 1 to up to 3 of the subs with a lot of troops on board the subs, and in the idea of, I don't know, 60 or so Marines per sub, or some number, I don't know quite offhand, and do raids on some of the smaller, lightly held Japanese islands, not really in the intention of keeping the islands. Sometimes they were, I think, rather small garrisons that they did take and hold for a little while. Other ones, they were just raiding a part of the island to go off, and they had some pretty big artillery. I think they were 6-inch guns, or maybe just 5-inch guns on them. 2 of them on each of the ships, and so they were really meant to give fire support to the landing element, and as well as not quite be the Surcouf level of big double-turreted guns to take on heavy surface warfare ships, but to really sort of take on say merchant and armed merchant vessels at fairly long range with fairly explosive effects, to sink them a lot cheaper than sending a torpedo into them. So the concept is hey, we see a lone Japanese or whoever's ship out there at sea. Well, let's surface out at long range, so even if they are sort of a Q ship, surface and start putting some big explosive rounds into it, and needing just a few to effectively sink it, knock it out of action, and then sail away if you're out in the middle of the Pacific and you don't expect any counterattack. You can do that a lot cheaper, both in the dollar sense cheaper, but also in the sense of you can only carry so many torpedoes. So if you can sink torpedoes with something that takes up a lot less space, do that, and then dive and go away. And so that they did use their guns both against ground-based targets, some type, and gun duels with shore batteries, as well as I think on a few ships. So we now have assault guns. These aren't assault rifles, these are the assault guns. We needed that to unlock, I forget what it was one of the techs here. Don't know if it was this one. Yeah, maybe. No, I don't know. Maybe it was. No, I forget. But we needed two things unlocked. Maybe it was one of these. I don't know. But let's see. Organization toughness. Marsh attack. Well, let's go with. No, let's go with the one that takes longer to do. Start that one first. Forget which things. No, I don't think they could have, IKB. I don't think they had anything large enough to put a Tiger tank in that could deal with the weight. I could be wrong, but I've actually recently, in the last 6 months or so, saved some pictures of it from it. The hangar, I don't know if it's wide enough to take a Tiger tank. But even if it is wide enough to take a Tiger tank, it's off center from the main line of the ship, and 2, to have the weight of a Tiger tank in a cylindrical tube would have been really difficult to support it and not crush the tube, if you know what I mean. And it would also, it's off center, so it would be listing over to that side considerably, even taking one Tiger tank aboard, because the aircraft, I can't imagine those 3 aircraft weighing as much as one Tiger tank that they had on board. And even then, they still had 2 different tubes for the pontoons below it that were sort of center lined, that were air, pressure tight too, for the floats. So because they had to bring out each aircraft one at a time, and quickly. They drilled quickly to do it. Bring out the aircraft and then bring out the 2 floats under it, attach the floats with bolts or something, but big quick attach bolts kind of thing, and then launch that aircraft. And so I don't know quite the dimensions. I mean, a man can easily stand up in it and such, so I'm guessing it's like 8-10 feet, but I don't think you could squeeze a Tiger into it. And the double hull design has a lot of volume in it, because they sort of do 2 cylindrical hulls next to each other, semicircle hulls, to sort of again give the width to be able to balance the top part for the aircraft. Otherwise, it would be way too top heavy. The top would just if it's a pure round hole, that the conning tower top would just fall to one side or the other. So they had to make it wide, but they come back in and narrow on each other. So I don't think there's any cavernous volume down in the base of it that's big enough in one thing to take a Tiger tank. Not saying that there isn't volume to put if you chopped one up and put pieces of it in there. But I don't think so. They were mainly intended, at least by the time of, because they built 4 of them. Only 2 of them got operational during the war. And they were planning to they had the range to get out to do a strike on the Panama Canal. I'm not sure whether they built the submarines to strike the Panama Canal, or they were building the submarines and it's sort of like, well, what are we going to do with these things? Because they're not enough aircraft to go after any of the American significant fleets by that time. The Americans had way too much carriers around their fleets and had way too much anti-aircraft to shoot down. Well, even if they get all 12 of, if they got all 4 of the submarines operating, that would be 12 aircraft total that they could put up there. That isn't going to get through an American carrier group. So some small convoy maybe, but is it worth building all of this infrastructure for the submarine to get these things built just to take out a few convoys? Probably not. So I really don't know in detail of their timing, but I really think they were building these big cool submarines, and it's like well, what the hell are you doing with those? Oh, we're going to attack the Panama Canal. Yeah, that's it. We're going to attack the Panama Canal with them. I really think it was more of that kind of thing, like what to do with these big big monstrosities. They're really cool. They're really neat. And if I was a nation and wanting cool capabilities, I would want them. But they really don't make sense in the context of the time they're built. Well, the Japanese didn't understand armored warfare well, and they bought one Tiger tank, actually, Jaeger. Well, it's more the weight, though, of course, separating the turret off from it, it's the weight and the width of the actual hull. And I don't know if anybody's done the dimensional looks. No, it's not on the center line. It's close to the center line. It's a little bit off, I believe. I would have to look. I don't. Hearts of Iron 3 doesn't do well with clicking off to look on something and coming back. But I'd have to look at the drawings. It's a little bit off center. The top of the conning tower is a little bit to one side, and the hangar tube is a little bit to the other side. And they sort of balance each other out a bit. And the conning tower sort of wraps around it a bit, that you have sort of an access way to get from the main hole up to the conning tower, underwater, inside. But the conning tower gets wider at the top, over the top of the tube. But it's not, if I'm remembering correctly, and I may be wrong, or I may have looked at drawing diagrams that are wrong, but I think it's just a little bit off center. And enough that it's meant to be off center to counterbalance the conning tower. But that conning tower versus the tiger, I don't know. I mean, it may be theoretically possible, but I'd have to see some good math work done up on it. Yeah, I don't know that that would work. I don't know why they bought the Tiger, because Japan, Jaeger did buy one Tiger tank, and basically it sat at the Japanese embassy in Berlin until some date, either late 1940 or very early 45, that the Germans just sort of, without giving the money back, took it back and used it, you know, give it to some unit. But they bought one Tiger, one tank. I think that's the only tank they bought. I don't right off know of any others. I know they showed off the Tigers. I have a photo or two of them showing off the Tiger tank to some Turkish officers. I don't know whether that was like, hey, you want to buy this? Want to buy some? I don't think so. I think it was more like, hey, we've got these cool tanks. We're going to win the war with them. Don't you want to join our side again this time? You did so well last war when you joined our side. I think it was more of that, showing off the Tiger to the Turks. And it was in German territory of some sort, but they did invite a Turkish military mission to look at the Tiger. I know they did that, but yeah. Well, after, of course, they knew that the Americans had already captured a few Tigers. Well, I think it's time to end this episode here. I want to thank you all for watching. Thanks for liking the videos. Of course, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. Love to see you around more often. And, of course, also, please post questions, comments, corrections. Maybe you do have some good info, and maybe even IKB will dig up some info on the Tigers and I-400 submarine aircraft hangar dimensions to see if they would fit, and post below. Thanks so much. See you next time for more Hearts of Iron.